Hellfire campaigns. It's that time of week again. Time to turn our attention to the northwest frontier of the nameless Northwestern Kingdom, the Empire of the Grand Poobah, the Big Kahuna, the Great Big Grand Mogul, and we are running Safedgar, a tiny little kingdom up here in this valley that opens out a little bit. I think the Himalayas, or if we're doing imaginations, whatever that is spelled backwards, right? We do that all the time. The Yamaha or whatever. Point being, we're up here in the far tail end of nowhere, and we fell in love with a beautiful Princess Jasmine and married her and proved our loyalty to her father and to the Grand Poobah. Remember, in year one of our rule over the country of Safedgar, the Grand Mogul said, I need you to protect Shanti Bahati. He's got one of his idiot sons by his favorite concubine ruling this little kingdom down here. There are 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and we're just one of those. So Shanti Bahati is his favored, and we marched some guys down there. Nobody wanted to attack, probably because they're intimidated by the new king of Safedgar. Somebody told me, Martin Meltzer, one of my best commenters, pointed out that if you're not the mogul, I can't remember what it is now. It'll come to me later on. I'm going to stop thinking about it and then I'll remember. At any rate, test in the new guy. Hey, are you really going to spend some of your hard-earned tax money, your hard-collected tax money on me? And yeah, of course we are. We want to maintain our good graces, because if you get too much stains on your reputation, you get too many enemies down in the court, down in the capital city, and the Grand Mogul is going to come after you. We don't want to be that guy. We want to take care of his guy until we at least build up our forces strong enough that we can march down. And basically, we're going to put ourselves in a situation where it's kill or be killed. This is a colonial Game of Thrones. We want to claim the peacock throne for the lovely and talented and not at all aggravating, now that we're married, Princess Jasmine. Hey, it's a fantasy. It could happen, right? So in year one, we drew a card, and we drew the 3 of spades, which was very fortunate because it meant we just had to pay $300 a month, $3,000 on the year. And I went back and I audited my finances and realized I only paid to build my new company. So I have a Western military advisor. I formed 2 companies of well-drilled infantry, and I bought myself some mobile artillery, top-of-the-line brass cannons, 12-pounders. They move pretty slow. They move at the speed of infantry, but they can pound our enemies' walls into rubble. I bought them, I trained them, but I didn't pay them their monthly salary. So I went ahead and I took an additional 8,500 rupees, that's what we're calling them, ducats, whatever you want to call them, out of my treasury, which leaves me with, going into year 2, 23,100. And I'm not going to go to like nickel and dime all this. For this next year, my plan is to, again, spend 20% of my tax, giving it to the big guy. He's got to get his cut. And then I'm going to spend 35% on both Magnificence and Munificence. And I think between these two, that's where this military budget comes from. So the leftovers, I've got basically 4,800 left over after I've spent all this. And that means I have to carefully budget how my surplus military is by having this military advisor who allow me to train, and my 2 drilled infantry companies, and I've got my mobile battery. This time around, I'm going to develop another cadre of matchlock men, the loyalists, the guys that I'm paying big money to. Now, if everything goes according to plan, it's going to cost me $400 to raise this company of matchlock men, and they will help us in battles. They're the last to flee. They are my diehard loyalists, my fanatics, if you will. It's going to cost me $400 to raise this company. It's going to cost me $600 to buy the muskets for them. And then it's going to cost me $500 a month for the 10 months. Well, it's a 12-month year. I could probably knock that down to 8 months, because the first 2 months are training months and we're not really paying them a whole lot. So we're going to say it's going to cost us a total of $5,000 over the course of the year. Remember, we only have 10-month years here. The 2 months out of the year, it's too wet, it's too rainy, everybody goes home, can't move on the roads because they're not exactly the Autobahn out there, okay? And that means that we can do everything in kind of a decimal system. Now, Where's the fun in this game? How do we find the conflict? Well, of course, we've talked repeatedly. Go back and watch the old episodes. This is our conflict matrix for the 7 countries. Of course, Barodi doesn't care about Barodi, but Barodi wants to go to war with Chorbad Shah. And I'm trying to do less paper sliding. I was doing a little quality control and looking, and recent videos, man, there's a whole lot of like this going on, and for some reason this microphone picks it all up. So we're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. As I said, Barodi, not happy with Chorbad Shah. They have this pass here. Both of them want to control it. Maybe Chorbad Shah controls the pass right now, and Barodi wants to take it over because you can charge a toll. All of Barodi's people have to either march through Safedgar and Amir Zamin and then down here to get to the capital. They want to be able to just walk right down here and just take that little shortcut. Just take the boats down the river. Save themselves a lot of time. How do they feel about us? I don't know. That's a good question. That probably should have been the first thing I asked, huh? So Safedgar is zeros across the board. We get to decide how we feel about everybody. So I guess I should probably fill out one of these rows for myself that like Barodi feels about Amir Zamin, Gambir feels they're scheming against Shanti Bahati. Lots of stuff going on here. And of course, these guys all have their own budgets. I'm not going to deal with all of that, to be honest with you. We're going to have to figure out a way to kind of abstract what their budgets are. Are they spending 20%? Are they actually delivering to the king? Now, I don't think I have to micromanage all of their budgets and all of their wins and losses. We will be doing a little bit of that. We'll take that into consideration. However, the random encounters that happen through the course of a year, that's where I think that stuff is really going to come to play. Remember that the chief currency in this game, other than currency, is a thing called stain. And I have that recorded on one of my master sheets. Now, here we go. So this is the master roster that I've kept. And so we're keeping track of who was threatening. So these guys each have 1 stain on their record. They have enemies at the court. We don't. We did everything right. I think a lot of times when you do things right, you earn penalties, little demerits. Because whatever you do, you're going to form enemies in the halls of power. That's just the nature of the beast. To figure out what our random event is, we're going to draw a card, and the suit of the card will determine what's going on. If I draw a diamond, it's bad harvests. I'm going to have to pay a lot of money to keep my people from starving. And while I might not care if my people starve, if they start to starve, they're going to rebel. They're going to revolt. I'm confusing those words. They're either going to rebel or revolt. Either way, it's bad news for us. We don't want to be we don't even want to give people an excuse to create a lie that we said, let them eat cake. That's a thing that has happened. It actually didn't happen. Oh, excuse me. The let them eat cake didn't happen. The lie that was said happened. Marie Antoinette, we lost a real one. Salute. On hearts, the Grand Mogul comes up and he starts kicking tail. On clubs, there's a war, and that's where this matrix of who hates who comes to play. If we draw the clubs, then Gambir does march to war against Chorbad Shah. And Barodi marches to war against Chorbad Shah. And wow, everybody just starts marching to war, and we have to pick a side. Maybe. Now, you might be tempted to say, well, look, if it depends on the suit, why don't I just roll like a D4? And on a 1, 2, 3, 4, it'll be spades, hearts, clubs, diamonds. Or actually, diamonds, clubs. And the answer is because you might draw an ace. And if an ace is drawn, some really interesting things happen. The Grand Mogul dies, and so there's a huge shuffling of the deck chairs on this political Titanic. Let's see if I draw an ace. I'm just going to cut the cards one more time, draw a card. I got a 4 of spades, which means we are going to have another quiet year. And we like quiet years because it means we can build up our military in peace. If you are smart, you will have spent the money to keep your military safe and sound and effective during the years of peace so that when war comes, they're ready to be war fighters. The peace dividend is a fool's bargain. Yeah, you cut back a little bit, but we all know the way to prepare for peace is to prepare for war. So again, we may actually wind up doing 2 years this time. On a 2 through 10, the sum of money the Grand Mogul wants all fife holders to contribute to him to enable to hire mercenaries who can deal with his problems. So 1 is 100 credits through 10 being 1,000. So we have to pay. So I thought our surplus was going to be 2,600. Instead, we're going to wind up with 2,200 credits per month. And so that means when we raise our unit of matchlock men, remember it's going to be 1,000. So in that first month, we can pay for all that. And then it's 500 a month for the 8 months. And what that means is essentially that because our surplus is going to be 2,200 a month, we will wind up with 22,000 for the year. And then rather than detail it by individual month, I'm just going to say, look, this is 5,000 altogether. So I'm going to wind up with plus 17,000 credits per year, except so I've already backed out to 400. So my savings is going to go to, from 23, I'm going to wind up with 40,100. And as we saw with my little symbol here is an R with a slash through it, kind of like the dollar sign, except instead of an S, it's an R. Once again, we have to consider the fife holder will march to protect, will put his forces under your command. So again, I'm going to march my guys. Hey, everybody, it looks like there's a threat on Shanti Bahati. I'm going to march my guys down the big Grand River, the Grand Mogul River. I didn't give it a name yet. And then we're going to march back home. But as with last time, there's a chance that one of the enemies of the Grand Mogul's idiot son will try to attack. It says types A, B, and H. Oh, so fifes A, B, and H, as well as the unwarlike ones, will allow you to pass. The warlike ones might decide to attack you before they get reinforced. Where is it? Those who rely on the Mogul's protection are on their own. The value of the card gives you the percentage chance each warlike leader will attack somebody under the Mogul's protection. We only have one person under the Mogul's protection. And I like to think that these warlike boys, so who are the warlike ones? That's where we come back to I guess that's the key right there. I need to record the letter for what these guys are like so that I cross-index it with this, with these rules here, which he doesn't tell you what they're like. He just gives you the letter. Well, I have that here. Our warlike fifes are Barodi, and as with last time, Chorbad Shah and Gambir. So I'm going to roll 3 times, and there's the chance of attacking is half the value of the card multiplied by 10. In other words, once again, on a 1 or a 2, these guys are going to attack. So we will check to see if Barodi attacks. They do not. We will check to see if Chorbad Shah attacks, and he does. And then we'll see if Gambir attacks, and on a 3, he does not. So Chorbad Shah. So we have our first real conflict of the day. Chorbad Shah is going to attack Shanti Bahati. And he's going to have a rough go of things because I'm marching down. Now, here's where things get a little bit flexible. If Barodi had decided to make their attack, then Barodi would probably launch a spoiler attack against my forces. And I'd be fighting Barodi, and we'd have to figure out what happens in that battle. And again, we'd have to check to see what happens in the battle between Chorbad Shah and Shanti Bahati. Now, Shanti Bahati and Badi Foj are allied, but I think the question is, does Badi Foj want to ally with and help defend Shanti Bahati against Chorbad Shah? And according to this, they are unwarlike. They are at peace with Shanti Bahati. They're nervous. They fear Barodi Chorbad Shah. So, is it Chorbad Shah? I guess it's Shah. I misspelled it over here on my cheat sheet. So it's going to be the combined forces of Safedgar and Shanti Bahati, but it's not going to be combined forces in the way that you think. Because I'm concerned about my neighbors Barodi and Amir Zamin, I'm not sending my full forces down to Shanti Bahati. Instead, what I'm going to do is nominate some, and this will help me preserve my forces for next year. Any casualties I suffer, I'm going to have to pay to replace, and I don't like paying for things. So we're going to have to figure out what's Chorbad Shah attacking with. I assume they're going to attack with everyone. They are going to bring their full military might to bear. They have 3 companies of foot plus 1 well-drilled infantry. Last year, they did the same thing that I did. Every time this happens, and again, I think Barodi is going to wind up I'm going to put a second star down here. So they're going to spend their year getting another. They're modernizing just the same as we are. Barodi is following in our footsteps. And they're, of course, attacking Shanti Pahadi because they say, oh, Shanti Pahadi only has 5 units of heavy cavalry. So what does that mean for us? Well, with no other infantry or light cavalry or any of that in the fight, what we can do is I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to match them man for man. And we are going to send along just enough. So here's what the battle looks like. They've got 4 companies of infantry, 6 heavy cavalry. Shanti Pahadi only has 5 companies of heavy cavalry. Well, I'm going to send 3 companies of my regular infantry, 1 company of drilled infantry, so that's a wash. I'm going to send 2 units of heavy cavalry so that we outnumber them in terms. So this is going to be a big heavy cavalry clash. And then 2 companies of light cavalry. Here's my military. So this is the only thing that I can suffer casualties from. And what that does is it gives us a numerical advantage. And I think there's something else. There's, I guess that's it. Okay, for court cards, it's simpler, but we don't have to worry about that. Now, here you go. Ta-da! You have yourself a wonderful little miniature war game right here. You got your battle all set up. You can set out your terrain. You know, we kind of vaguely know what it looks like. And if you have your favorite men who would be kings, right, from Osprey, or, I don't know, Sword in the Flame, or your own homebrew rules, well, we're not going to do the full game setup because this is really a pen and paper exploration of the logistics and politics. So we're going to kind of fast forward past that. But there is a little bit of strategy involved here. Because the first thing we have to do is roll for the aggression state for both sides, okay? And there are modifiers for that. If your army is twice the size of your enemy, which is not the case here, remember that each of these units has 10 stands regardless. If you have more heavy cavalry, you get a +1. Oh, hey, that's us. So that puts us at +1 to aggro. If you're fighting elephants and you don't have any, okay, not the case. If you have allied matchlock men present, which we could send ours, but they're not fully trained up, we could actually roll a d10. Hey, what month is this battle going to take place in? The second month. My spare matchlock men are still in training, so I don't have them available, or I might have sent them. So that's going to be it, right? That's it for our aggression mods, and I have to roll for both sides. So I roll first for them, and it's a straight roll. Their aggression is 3, and I roll for us at a +1, and ours is 5. Then right. So they got a 3. They're going to maintain desultory fire. This is some kind of a feeling out. They're just testing the waters here. We're also going to do that, and so you cross-reference. With both sides being desultory, we get a result of a B, which means the larger force wins, the smaller retreats with no losses. Okay, and so there's no losses on either side. So that's the end of the battle. And that's all that happened this year. Had we rolled a lot higher, had we rolled a 9 or a 10 with a wild charge, the desultory versus our wild charge would have meant that the least aggressive force retires in good order after 50% losses. So we would have inflicted 50% losses on Barodi. As it is, kind of a repeat of last time, whereas last time we marched down, nothing happened. This time we marched down, set up a powerful defense. Our horses were kind of doing a little skirmishing, just enough to preserve both sides' honor. And then the fight was over and everybody went home feeling pretty darn good about themselves for doing what they were told to do, but not being dumb enough to do it in a way that would cost them their lives. And that's going to wind up being the end of year 2 for us. We now have lots of money in the bank account. We did what we had to do. And I think, so at the end of the year, our savings goes up to 40,000. We can repeat that process. Now that we've walked through it all, I don't have to introduce it, so I can just reshuffle this deck and we can find out. And part of the goal here for today is just to show you how quickly this game can actually proceed. So I shuffle it a little bit and then we'll just cut it and I show you 8 of hearts. Okay, so with the 8 of hearts, we have a result of, I think I might have cheated a little bit because I didn't include the 4 of spades. So I tipped the odds away from spades. I hope you can forgive me. Although it might be interesting to play this game and not shuffle cards back into the deck. Decks have memory. That way, you're only going to have 10. Now, remember, court cards are a little different. Aces don't count. You're basically going to have 12 years of famine in any given half century, 12 years where the mogul's distracted, 12 years. But when those years come is going to be a bit of a surprise. So for today, we drew an 8 of hearts. The Grand Mogul has turned his gaze in the direction represented by your map. There's one last thing I forgot to record here. The people who were getting chippy and warlike, when you have that situation that you fight a battle, let's just check one more time, make sure I didn't miss anything. You put his forces under your command. There will be a presumption that will allow you to pass. There should be something about getting a stain on your record. So, and here it is, buried in hearts when the Grand Mogul comes to settle matters here. You gain stains. 1 per month if you don't pay for tribute. Everybody's paying it every month. I don't want to have to deal with that. 1 to 6 if you attack one of the fiefs under the Grand Mogul's protection. Oh, well, that means that Barodi gains D6 for their getting chippy. So they gain 1 for attacking under the Grand Moguls. And then you gain an additional if you have attacked a minor son of the Grand Mogul. If you have not attacked a minor son of the Grand Mogul, you gain 1 stain. So that's kind of a wash. Everybody gains 1 regardless of what they do. I think, right? And then each battle you win, hey, we just won a battle last time. We successfully defended the area. So Barodi now has 2 stains, and Safadgar has 2 stains. And so there's a worm tongue situation going on here. If the Grand Mogul appoints you to gather an army, which hasn't happened yet, and each fief holder who pays you protection gains you enemies in court. 1 stain for each payer. So I think that what we have to look at for that is that every year that goes by, anybody that's paying money to somebody else, if you're receiving money, so remember Amir Zamin, they're going to gain 2. They're going to be at 2 stains. Who else is paying money to who? And Shorbad Shah is paying to Badi Foj. So Badi Foj is going to have, theirs is going to go up by 2, and Amir Zamin is going to go up by 2, and I think that's it. Gambir hasn't really done a whole lot. Oh no, that's not true. Badi Foj is actually going to gain 4. So even though Shorbad Shah marched to beat up on Shanti Bahati, Badi Foj, because they're receiving tribute from both Shorbad Shah and Gambir, they have a lot more enemies in court. And despite the Grand Mogul's inclinations, all of his courtesans have convinced him that he needs to march to war against Badi Foj. They have 4 stains, and this is why you don't want to have too many of those yourself. So what do we do? Stains are cumulative. On a 2 through 10, he appoints the fief holder with the fewest stains to gather an army. Well, that's not going to be me. Shanti Bahati is the fewest. Although Shorbad... Wait a minute. Oh, I think I did this backwards. I gave stains to the wrong people. No, Barodi has 2, and Barodi only has 1. So Barodi actually is going to be appointed, and Shorbad Shah, or do we appoint Shanti Bahati? I think Shanti Bahati gets appointed, and that's going to be important because if you have the least stains, it says deal a card for every other fief holder who isn't the one causing trouble. Oh, so that means that I've answered my question, why the deck having memory doesn't matter. So we had an 8 of hearts, which has led to the Grand Mogul launching an expedition against Badi Foj, which oddly enough is the nearest to the Grand Mogul's home depot. So he's right here. He's just going to march right up into here and start whooping butt, kind of. He's going to appoint, as I said, the lowest stain is going to be Gambir or Barodi. So it's one of these 2 gets appointed. We'll have to see who it is. It says deal a card for every fief holder who isn't causing trouble. If they draw lower than the initial heart played, whatever the suit, they'll pay to support the commander. That's 100 credits for every point they are below. So in other words, for everybody, we're launching a punitive raid against Badi Foj. So for Barodi, it's going to be 4. So they're going to pay 400 rupees to support this grand effort. Amir Zamin is going to pay 500. Chorbid Shah will pay. Oh, so what happens if you get higher? We have to assume they pay nothing. So Chorbid Shah is busy doing additional training, bringing up new troops. Who's next? Badi Foj, of course, we don't draw for. Shanti Pahadi is going to spend 100 supporting this. And wow, that's for your own defense. I'm a little disappointed. And then it was 8, so that's actually going to be 300 for Shanti Pahadi. And then the 7 means that Gambir is going to be donating 100. And then what about us? Well, we have to draw a card for ourselves, and we are expected to pay 300 to support, which means, and I kind of off camera, I went ahead and I wrote up year 3. So if we take a look at that, I was anticipating a surplus of 2,100, but now I'm going to have to spend 300 supporting the effort to launch a punitive raid, and that means that I'm only going to be bringing in 18,000 per month for the year, right? 18,000 for the year, and there's going to be a battle fought, and here's where things get a little bit wonky once again, because we talk about gaining, right? And then so here's the Grand Mogul turns his gaze. So we are going to have a battle, but I think the important thing is that deal a card for every fife holder. So the fewest stains, that's not us, and then there's a way to remove these, I think. Oh no, the way to remove these is if there's a civil war. That's when the ace is drawn. So for now, this is where this game might be way more complicated than I'm interested in playing. The big bad boss is going to march up and he's going to thump Badi Foj. Now, if he had selected us because we had the most stain, then we would play out the full battle. For this, I'm not really going to worry about it, right? I'm just going to reset the stains. So basically, whoever was the king of Badi Foj gets deposed, and the political situation changes. There's a new guy. So what that means is, because he got destroyed, and this is all just kind of me reading into the campaign itself, I have to figure out what the new Badi Foj is all about. That means a new political setup, and so to figure that out, I have to roll 2d6 on the same table, and with a result of an 8, I get the new Badi Foj is a hereditary incumbent. So the son of the old guy is intent on enjoying the perquisites. He is warlike and happy to extort protection money from his neighbors. Well, is that such a change? Let's take a look. So the new Badi Foj is hereditary and unwarlike. Oh, well, this one now, he becomes warlike, and that raises some interesting questions because we have to revisit our deck chairs on the political Titanic. Because he's warlike, all of these change, and now I feel a little bad for using all of these colors and making it so obvious, right? Badi Foj was afraid of everybody, and wait a minute. Badi Foj was afraid and nervous about everybody? I thought I had him. What do I have him down here taking all this money for? Gambir was paying Badi Foj. Chorbid Shah was. I feel like I must have done something wrong here. See, Gambir was demanding money. I think these arrows are pointing the wrong way. Now that I look at this. Amir Zamin is scheming. No, maybe the schemes is the other one where people are trying to get away with stuff. And Shanti Pahadi is actually at peace with Badi Foj, which means the 300, maybe they wouldn't have spent all that. Oh, I see. The purple is demanding. That was my mistake. Badi Foj is actually paying Gambir and Chorbid Shah. So that's where I'm wrong. The green arrows mean that Gambir gets 2 and Chorbid Shah gets 2. Okay. Yeah, are we learning, guys? I think we are. So I have to reset my stain counter. That being the case, Chorbid Shah would have been the guy to receive the punitive. Now, he got stains because he was threatening. He got stains for the battle, and then 2 for the 2 years that he was taking protection money. Gambir with 3, that means that Gambir was paying money, and the 300 that was paid by Shanti Pahadi, that would stay. I guess basically, Amir's, what is this? It means the Body Foj was actually, let me go BF. I have to draw a card to find out how much they were going to be paying. So with an 8, they would have paid nothing. So Body Foj pays nothing, and we just zero that out. But from our perspective, what that means is I need to go back and I need to recalculate how not Body Foj, they stay the way they are. That battle was a punitive raid against Chorbid Shah. So Chorbid Shah changes from the, where's my roster? There we go. So Body Foj remains unwarlike, and Chorbid Shah it actually doesn't change at all. They're up to their same old tricks. But so that means, fortunately for me, I don't have to redo all this because they haven't changed so much. The apple did not fall far from the tree. And from our perspective, it just means that we still have to pay the same amount of money, and the stain counters will reset. So Chorbid Shah is going to be forgiven for all of their antics, and now they have the fewest stains for the next year. You can drill down and you can decide, well, maybe I need to fight another battle, but who's going to be fighting, right? Shanti Pahadi isn't involved. There's a force coming up from the south, an imperial force that's thumping Chorbid Shah. So I think what we'll do to further penalize them is we're going to get rid of the well-drilled infantry. Barodi now has 2 units of those, but the Chorbid Shah is going to lose their well-drilled infantry to the incredibly powerful forces of the Emperor, of the Grand Mogul. And that's going to wrap up years 2 and 3 of our rule of Safedgar. We're still just barely scratching the surface. We need to see what the famine looks like, and we need to start thinking about, well, what if we wanted to gain more territory? What happens when the boss man gets mad enough at us to come up? I mean, these are all questions that we still have to answer. There's a lot of room left to explore this rule set, and I, as always, look forward to exploring it with you guys. Until next time, I'm praying for you.